What's up everybody, welcome back. In today's video I want to have a look at adding some leaning in our running animations. So when we turn we actually lean into a corner a little bit. So let's just get started right away and maybe we'll end up with a short video for once. So we can do all of this inside of our animation blueprint. So let's open it up. And the first thing we need to do is create a new function. And I'm going to call this SetLeanAngle. And in here we need to start with the character rotation. So let's drag in our character and we're going to get the actor rotation. And we want to break it. So drag over here, look for break rotator. So this is the character rotation in this update of the function. And we also want to promote this to a variable, and that's our character rotation. But we don't want to set it just yet, so we're going to drag it over the side, but we do want to get a getter in here. And we're also going to break this. So this is the character rotation that we stored in the previous update of this function. So we're going to subtract these from each other, so minus, and plug in the yaws in here. So we need the yaw difference. And we're going to promote this to a variable, and that's the yaw delta since last update. Yaw delta since last update. So this is pretty much the difference between the last update of this function and this update in the rotation of the character. So we're gonna divide this. So look for save divide. Oh come on, there we go. We're gonna divide this through the time of this update. So that's the delta seconds. So then we are dividing the distance through the time, so we end up with the speed. So that's our yaw delta speed. And now that we have calculated this, we want to set the character rotation, so we can use this information in the next update of the function. So drag it in here and connect it up to the character rotation over here. So we have the yaw delta speed, and we're going to use that to multiply it with a certain multiplier, and that will end up with the lean angle that we're going to use. So we need another variable, and that's our actual additive lean angle. Additive lean angle. And we're going to set that over here. And to get that, we're going to drag in our yaw delta speed and multiply this. And we actually want to be able to select different floats. So we're going to look for a select float and grab the function over here. And we want to make sure that we can pick a different float if we are ADSing or crouching, for example. So right now the only thing we have in the character is ADS. So we're going to drag off here and look for property access. And with this we can access the character directly because we stored it in a variable over here. So we can look for the character, and inside the character we can get our isAds variable directly. So plug it in over here. So if we are ADSing, we want to use a lower value, so there's a little bit less lean. So I'm going to set this to 0.05, and for the B value I'm going to set it to 0.1. And these values, you can play around with these to actually increase or decrease your lean, depending on what you want to end up with in game. So store this in the additive lean angle, and this is what we're going to use later. There's only one thing left to do in this function, and let's get a branch in here. And we want to create a new boolean for this, that's called isFirstUpdate. And we want to set it to true by default. So compile it and set the default value to true. And plug it in over here. So if this is the first update, then our character rotation over here will be 0. And the information that we get returned isn't useful. So we want to ignore the first update. So we're simply going to set our yaw delta since last update to 0. And the yaw delta speed to 0 as well. And after that we're going to set our isFirstUpdate to false. So the next time this function runs, it will actually return something useful. And then we're going to return, and we're done over here. So this is the function that we're going to use. So let's compile and save it and dive into the event graph. And I'm going to simply call it all the way at the beginning over here. So let me create a little bit of room. Drag in the new function and plug it in over here. And now all we need to do is set it up in the animation graph. So let's open up the animation graph. If you are using the Lyra Example game assets that we migrated in the first episode of the tutorial, then there's actually a lean blend space in here by default. So if you search for lean, we already have a lean blend space available. If your character doesn't have it, then it's not really too hard to create. There's really 3 animations in here, and they are additive animations. So all you really need to do is rotate your pelvis left to right and maybe lower it a little bit so it's aligned to the ground. And then set it up as additive animations when you import them. And then you can use them to make a blend space. So if you have the blend space, then you simply want to drag it in your animation graph. And we're going to apply this before the IK nodes, after the aim offset. So let's create a little bit of room. And we want to apply additive over here. So drag off and look for apply additive, not mesh space additive, but the normal additive node. And in here we're going to plug in our lean blend space, and the value that drives it is our additive lean angle. So plug it in over here. And then we are pretty much good to go. So if we test this, it should work. So there we have it. If we are turning, our character is leaning. There's one thing we need to fix. If we are standing still, as you can see, there's also leaning because the velocity is not calculated. So let's make sure that that's fixed as well. And we're going to do that in the event graph. And the first thing I want to do in here is drag off from the character, and I want to get the character movement component. So look for character movement component and all the way down grab the component. And from here I want to get the maximum walk speed, so get max walk speed. And I'm going to store this as a variable, so promote to variable maximum walk speed. Plug it in over here. Now let's go into the event update animation, and I'm going to look for an empty spot. So let's create it right before the branch here. And the first thing I want to do is drag in my current speed, and I want to map it to a range. So I'm going to right click and look for map range clamped. And then we can plug in the speed as the current value, and we want to map it to a range from 0 to our maximum walk speed. So drag in the maximum walk speed for the in range in B, and then the outcome we want it to be from 0 to 1. So set the B outcome to 1, and this will simply make it so if we are walking at our maximum speed, this will return 1, and if we are standing still, our speed is 0, it will return 0. And anywhere in between there, it will grab a linear outcome between those values. So we can store this as a new variable, and that's our alpha move speed. And then we're simply going to plug this into our blend space for the lean animations. So if we are standing still, the alpha is 0 and there will be no lean animations playing. So go back to the animation graph, and into the apply additive over here we can plug in the alpha move speed, and that should fix the issue. So if we compile and save, and this will also make it so if we are running slower using a joystick or a controller, for example, the leaning will be smoother. So right now if we are standing still, there is no leaning, and if we are running, our leaning is back. So that's pretty much all we need to do to get leaning animations working, and these will also replicate. We don't need to do anything special because we did all of it inside of our animation graph. So this will actually be all for today's video, nice and short. Thanks for watching everybody, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and I'll be back for more. Thank you, bye bye.